of that query owned by Asiedu-Dartey, which means that the AG did not have the chance to go ahead with selling those properties to retrieve the monies. And so the AG or the state is still contesting those claims in the court of law with respect to these particular property and the question as we speak at the moment. And also in respect of this, some monies have also been retrieved as we speak at the moment. Also, he gave a plan that he intends to go by on the 5th of November when this case was heard sometime last week. He said he had some quarterly installments to make 5 million every quarter commencing April 1, 2017. That was according to the Attorney General, who said that by this commitment, according to her, by Woyome to pay the monies, it informed the decision to discontinue this particular case in the court of law, specifically the oral examination. If you recall, the AG actually started this whole process to have him orally examined, but then they discontinued the case because of this plan that was announced or that was given by Alfred Woyome when the AG met him in her office together with the staff of the Attorney General in that particular meeting. So that's what's coming out of this particular issue, and that is what we have at the moment. So we're going to get into this, and Edem Senanu is executive chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. He's going to be joining me in studio. So stay with me and see me on the other side. Welcome back to the Key Point here on TV3. Joining me in studio is Edem Senanu. He's a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. It's good to have you. Now, I'm sure that you must be relieved by this Supreme Court ruling earlier today.
Well, we're excited. Relief, I don't know about the word relief, but certainly excited. I mean,
what excites you about this, really?
One of the things that we've been quite sad about is the fact that citizens do not engage enough. Ghanaians tend to sit back, allow things to happen, and then we cry foul when things have gone terribly wrong. When indeed we have a responsibility, a civic obligation to stand up and to engage on these issues. And I think Martin Amidu has set that type of precedent appropriately for many of us to understand that there's so much more that we all can do when it regards issues of governance.
I see. Now, but then again, for you, you're not convinced so much about the steps taken by the AG in retrieving this money so far, after that ruling 2 years ago.
Well, I mean, to put it this way, one would have thought, given the context of what had happened, a so-called financial engineer who has managed to do a lot of very big work, which involves billions of dollars, etc. All of a sudden, we are being told we can find properties that would pay back. Even
some properties were found, but then again, they're being contested. The UT Bank, in respect of the 2 residential properties in Trasacco, is contesting that. And also this query that he owns, Anata Holding is also contesting that. So there's been properties actually identified, you know, in the process.
Well, yes, but I think that what we are saying is that, are these all the properties? Are these the only assets that are available? We are not really convinced. And what Martin is doing would hopefully, because he appears to have much more information than the rest of us, hopefully something else will come up that will allow us to retrieve monies that are due the state.
No, but then if you look at the AG's defense to the likes of you who've taken the position that she's not doing much in retrieving this money, she talked about the fact that in April 2016, accounts of Woyome and ADB, Unibank, UT Bank had some garnishing effect where she was able to retrieve monies in there, 966 Ghana cedis, 29,500, and then also 1,008 Ghana cedis, and then $98, and then $32,779. If you total everything, about 31,491 Ghana cedis, $33,000, and then 1,226 euros, which were in that account, which was able to retrieve. And recently, we also told some 4 million Ghana cedis had been paid to the state. This doesn't convince you?
Alfred, that's a pittance. That's a pittance compared with what we have lost. So, I mean, you can't expect anybody to seriously think that this is a very progressive way of getting back the resources that have been lost to the state. Honestly, no, we can't be convinced with that. I think that's the whole point. It's one of the reasons why having an independent prosecutor's office would serve all of us, because then you are protected from the fact that others will be accusing you that we don't think you are doing enough. It would serve that office very well. As it is, we are not very convinced that enough has been done, and the figures you're calling are pittance compared with what we are expecting to be retrieved.
What exactly were you expecting of the Attorney General in this case?
Well, we first of all, it would have been interesting to find out what happened to that money, the 51 million plus whatever it is. Where is it? I mean, what happened to it? For somebody who could raise this type of money for the type of construction and other things that were involved, right, one would assume that in terms of his financial capacity, you'd find that there will be resources, not just in Ghana, but outside Ghana, that ought to be traced and also brought to bear in this case. So we're expecting much more in a shorter period. And after how many months, we've still not seen the light of day.
But then the question also arises where the court, I recall earlier today, the judge did admit that some effort had been made by the AG in the process of retrieving these monies, even though it would have been much more speedily done and a lot more attention to the whole ruling 2 years ago. But then there's been legal hurdles that they exhibited willingness to pay with the timetable to begin in April 2017, and that also is not something that could have helped?
Well, first of all, let's say that nobody is discounting the effort that the AGs has made. It would not be fair to them if we went down that road. Okay. However, I think it is also important to identify that the expectations of Ghanaians, given the high-profile nature of this case, were that a lot more of the resources of the monies lost would have been retrieved much earlier.
I wanted to hold on to that point. Forgive me. I'm going to go on to the telephone now. Lawyer Yao Pong is a private legal practitioner, lecturer at the Central University College, Faculty of Law. Lawyer, I thank you very much for your time. Good evening to you. Now, this decision, good for the rule of law?
Oh, yes, very well so. Very good for the rule of law and for the democracy that we've chosen for ourselves. It continues to remind us that as a people, we have chosen for ourselves rule of law and not rule of man. Then that even where the state, sometimes with its awesome powers, can be subjected to law by the decision of the court, because final judicial power has been vested in the judiciary. And as I say, we must be thankful to the Almighty God for giving us bold, fearless, and independent-minded judges who will uphold their oath to determine matters, to administer justice without fear, favor, ill will, or affection. Doesn't matter how small you may be against another party. It doesn't matter how big that party may be against you. Judges are prepared and ready to defy all odds, even sometimes against some public opinion, and to apply the law as they understand it. And for me, that is the highlight of all this matter that happened today.
But the question also arises that will Martin Amidu be able to bring out anything from Alfred Oweyome, persons who might have benefited from the money in this oral examination, which is scheduled for 24th of November?
Well, frankly speaking, I'm very little enthused about the possible consequence. I'm just happy and excited that in spite of what the state may decide not to do, another remedy may be found and another person may be found to continue from where the state left off, or where the state may be unwilling to continue. That is more important to me. As to whether or not you'll be able to extract some information from the gentleman that will be beneficial to us. Let's wait till Thursday, but I'm not so much enthusiastic about that as I am about the mere fact of the declaration itself.
Okay, but how will this cross-examination or this legal, oral examination take? I mean, to the extent that, you know, there's an excitement that it would bring out the names of persons who benefited from this. What's the process?
Well, leave that to the connoisseurs and leave that to those who want to engage in betting. As for me as a lawyer, and in view of what I do and what I want for myself and my children, I am interested in the firm establishment and enhancement of the rule of law and of respect for law and of constitutionalism, that whatever or whoever you are, when you are given power, there's a limit to which you can go. And once you cross that limit, the courts will stop you. That is more important to me. The excitement and the extra legal spin that may be put on it, I'm very little enthused about that. My main point is the realization and then continuous assurance by the judiciary to us that if any other institution has failed, they are firmly in control and they will always come to the aid of both the strong and the weak.
Great. Lawyer, I thank you very much for your time. Good evening to you. Lawyer Yao Pong is a legal practitioner, also a lecturer at the Faculty of Law of the Central University College. I still have Adam Sinan, who's a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption in studio with me. So how would the details of what would be unearthed on 24th November help in this process of getting the money back?
Well, I mean, any details, any additional details that will enable us understand whether some other people have benefited, rightly or wrongly, and will provide clues as to who else we could retrieve money from and where to get it from. That would be very helpful. That would be the icing on the cake. As Laura Pong already said, I mean, it's a good enough development that this ruling makes it possible for others to come on board to help unearth some of the information that is required. That then means that the scope of what citizens can do and our own education, because it's a high-profile case, so many people will now know that these things are possible. And that's very good for Ghana. We are hoping that additional details, and obviously, Martin, he's had experience. He must have something under his sleeves. And so we are all, with bated breath and expectation, looking forward to what happens on the 24th.
But what will be your expectations, really, very finally, if he doesn't mention names, or because you're expecting names to be mentioned?
Well, I mean, yes, we are expecting some names. I mean, why else would Martin be asking to cross-examine? There must be something else, some other names, some other places where some resources are hidden. Okay. And if nothing comes up, that's fine. But we are hopeful that some additional information that will provide concrete clues would be unearthed on the 24th. The
24th November is a day to watch. I thank
Absolutely.
you. Absolutely. Very grateful.
Great things in Ghana.
Yes, the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, talking about Martin Amidu versus Alfred Abesi-Woyome. But President John Dramani Mahama is expected to address the nation tonight on the presidential encounters by state broadcaster GBC. President Mahama is expected to shed light on a number of issues, including his economic transformation and livelihood empowerment program, which also seeks to create more jobs and enhance incomes. The president will also take questions from viewers and listeners from across the country and also from representatives of identifiable groups and organizations. The program will be aired live on TV3 by Ketsi Ghana Television. So just make a date, 9 p.m. is the time. Stay with us as we get into News 360